and welcome back to the OG Rivals podcast. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, and got a little bit of a pep in my step after that nice win against none other than the Dallas Cowgirls. Man, I am so excited to talk about this one. To hell with everything else we've said and talked about. All that matters is the most recent win, and it's a sweet one. So really pumped to jump into that. And then really curious about Sir Miguel Prado, man, losing to the Lions. How does it taste? Does it taste as bad as I thought it tasted?
You know what, Miles? I'm happy we're a few days removed from that. Obviously, never want to drop that divisional game, but the universe is at play here. Episode 16 on November 16th, which just so happens to be my son's 7th month. Do you even call it a birthday? Just 7 months? Yeah, 7 months here. So super excited, and we're trekking along here, looking at week 11 in the NFL, and the Packers aren't dead.
Not dead yet. That's the theme. That we've got our RELAX. We've got our. I think we can run the table. We've got our media headline now, right? Not dead yet. And as much as now, look, it's funny. We jump into episode 16 here, and anybody who's following along closely notices a gap that there was not in episode 15. Kind of funny because there was a different tone in this long lost episode 15 than there will be in this episode 16. So maybe that was by design too. But nonetheless, I'm excited to get into it and get into the questions of can we really expect this to stick around, or is this fool's gold? That's my biggest question. But first of all, let's jump in. Talk about today's show sponsor. It is Life Leaf Remedies. We are super passionate about helping y'all feel better today. We are making natural remedies by combining cannabinoids like CBD, CBDA, and a whole bunch of other CBs and acronyms with natural vitamins and even fungi, things that you're familiar with and comfortable with. And we are making superior natural remedies. So if you are passionate about taking better care of yourself and your family, your loved ones with natural products, check us out at lifeleafremedies.com. Check out all of our products and subscribe to any of them to get free shipping. Do not pay for shipping, y'all. If you don't want it, just unsubscribe as soon as you get your product, and we're not going to stop you. So definitely check out lifeleafremedies.com and feel better today, y'all. And sir, we're giving some stuff away here. How do we give it away? I think, you know what, I'm gonna you tell them what they got to do, and I'm gonna tweak the rules just a little bit at the end.
Well, let me tell you what you got to do. You got to go ahead and spike that like button, Miles. If you're following along at home, leave us a comment, subscribe, and talk about us at your next tailgate. Tailgates are getting pretty cold. We have some cold fronts coming in there in the Northwest, and some snow. Getting some nice photographs of some snow and some cold weather up there. In frozen tundra NFC North division. What are you tweaking here today?
Every single person who likes, comments, and subscribes is getting every single one of you. Every last one of you, you're getting free immune armor because we gotta armor up. Everybody's got to armor up. We talk about this weather. Everybody's getting inside. We're sharing germs again. We got to armor up, beef that immune system. So if you are so inclined to like, comment, and subscribe and be listening to us as loyally as you are, you're going to get a bottle. This is not just a giveaway. This isn't name in a hat. You're going to get it. So just do your deed, and I'm going to send you something for free. So that's just as clean and simple as that.
And I'll tell you what, that's exciting to hear because we had an offer in that infamous now episode 15 that is in the vault. Some technical difficulties. And I'll say, Miles, just me being objective here is a little suspicious that the episode where you have a complete meltdown just never makes it on the internet.
I think I still need to post some clips from some of those meltdowns. It was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we should. But we had a lot of fun. I think we have a fun episode here, which I'm excited about because you mentioned you have a pep in your step. Does that have anything to do with beating the Dallas Cowboys at Lambeau Field?
I mean, it has everything to do with that. And let's be very, very clear here. What we saw on Sunday is really what I think Packers fans have been expecting to see from Aaron Rodgers all along, from Matt LaFleur all along. You know, you want Rodgers to throw the ball about 20 times, and you want your backs to carry the ball about 30 to 40 times. You know, there was a statistic that, of course, the announcers, man, they always throw stuff out there. But they're like 28-1 when Aaron Jones carries the ball more than 30 times. It's somewhere in that ballpark, right? Essentially, like, run the ball, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, and you win the game. I mean, that's been a very consistent recipe. So they did that again. That was I love that. And then I can't tell you enough how satisfied I was to see Christian Watson score not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns.
He counted
that
those
he did,
on his hands
and I said it. Remember this? I said it after he dropped that pass in that first game against Patrick Peterson. He burned he burned him toasty. The whole league saw his speed. When he has been on the field, that offense fires. When he's not, they flounder. And I think it's entirely because his speed creates spaces that are not there if his speed is not on the field. And, we talk about jet motions. Oh, yeah, so anybody can run that. Not with his speed. I'm telling you that the entire league sees how fast this kid is, and they're going, oh, no. What do we do here? We thought Tyreek Hill was fast. This kid is huge. He's as fast as Tyreek Hill, and he's much bigger. And as soon as he's really hones that in, man, like, look out, sky's the limit. And I'm just a little vindication there. So very excited to see that. Excited to see the defense hold its own. Although I think that if Zeke is playing in this game, it's probably a different game. There were definitely times where the Cowboys needed a thumper. They needed to be able to, just slam that ball at the middle and make someone kind of pay for a tackle. And they weren't able to do that. Pollard's a shifty guy. He's fast, but he's not punishing somebody for tackling him. And I think that's where the game kind of slipped away from the Cowboys. They weren't able to control it where they needed to. Dak certainly didn't look like he was firing on all cylinders there. And, want to give a quick shout out to Packers Twitter in general. They have been calling for Rudy Ford to be starting at safety for most of the season now. Pretty much in Joe Barry's ear, telling him how to do his job, saying shift Darnell Savage back down to the nickel slot. You put Rudy Ford at safety, and sure enough, they've done that. And Rudy Ford just comes out like a cannonball. He started the game with a tackle for loss against Pollard, which was great. But then he obviously has the 2 interceptions. You can't ask for a better debut for a guy's first start at safety. And I think I don't know the PFF grades and all of that, but I think Darnell Savage also had a much better game than he has been. So all around, very pleased that a lot of adjustments were made that we've been asking for. I think that there's, we'll get to this long lost episode 15, but there were some critiques on Mr. Jason Vrabel in that episode for the fundamentals of the receivers being so poor against the Lions, and I think you saw a lot of that really flip on its head. With Christian Watson, particularly, I think it was his first touchdown. The stem on his route was beautiful, and I think he mentioned it wasn't even supposed to be an outside breaking stem, but that's what the DB gave him, and he stacked him, and just the DB didn't stand a chance. So the fundamentals were beautiful there, and it just looked like an all around better game. So. A lot of optimism, but I guess my caution comes from, like, all right, was this just sort of a flash in the pan coming together for Aaron Rodgers versus Mike McCarthy? What happens next, I think, is really going to be important. We'll get to that about predictions for tomorrow night, but all in all, very excited about how they won that game. I don't feel like they kind of got away with anything. I'm sure Cowboys fans, want to talk about a missed call here and there. Welcome to every damn game in the NFL this year. Sorry, not hearing it. I think all in all, it was a great game. fun to watch if you're a Packers fan. I think most Cowboys fans probably enjoyed most of the game right until the end. But I'm still kind of on the edge of letting my optimism go. I don't feeling kind of reserved about
Yeah.
what could come still.
So the NFL obviously is a momentum league. I think what's really important is to capture that momentum of that win, and especially getting the opportunity with a short week, with that Tennessee game tomorrow night. That's going to be definitive in answering some of those questions on if the Packers have a legitimate shot of making a run here. End of season, or not end of season, but back half of the NFL season. And it gets competitive. These games, every game counts. And that bottom, I would say, 7th seed of the NFC is not out of reach.
It's not. It's definitely not. And, the Cowboys are a critical win because they're no shoe-in for the East, although now there's been a shakeup there with the Commanders beating the Eagles, which kind of rolls me into one of my other points here. Are we making assumptions about our opponents prematurely?
Whoa, yeah.
Right? Like,
yes, you are.
because we've gone into a few of these thinking, well, it's the Giants. You should beat the Giants. Damn, the Giants look kind of good. You go into the Jets. You should beat the Jets. Well, the Jets don't look so bad. It's the Patriots. They're not looking good yet. Well, they're not looking bad either. There's a lot of those wins, and now even the Commanders. Like, man, you should beat the Commanders, right? Well, that felt like an ugly loss, and now they beat the Eagles. So
yeah,
we got to remind ourselves, any given Sunday, it is still the NFL, and I think that really the point that can be wrapped up with the Cowboys and the Packers is, when the talent's on the field, if it comes together, it's capable of beating a lot of these teams, right? But the folks that are the teams that are the best are the ones who are bringing it week in and week out, and you just don't know what to do about it. And that's kind of where you get the Bill Belichick's being leader of men, right? No, it was an exciting win. I think it plays in their favor that they've got a short week. You don't have a whole lot of time to celebrate a win like that. You just have to get right back to business. And you've got a tough task. Fortunately, it's in Lambeau. You've got some experience recently stopping Derrick Henry, so hopefully they can tap into that game plan and make sure that they take some things from that. But it's not an easy thing to stop that guy. Now, fortunately, you do have the secondary playing well right now, and you don't have a particularly intimidating, passing game coming from the Titans. So, all in all, everything is right there for them to continue this momentum. And I'll tell you now that the Eagles have taken a loss, nobody's invincible. So if the Packers rip off 2 more wins and they make us really look at this thing, I'll eat every last one of my words. We got receipts. We've named episodes receipts. We might just have to have an episode where you go, all right, here, I was wrong.
wow.
Because they really might make me say that about most of these things that we've said the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But here we are. I'll take it.
Well, I think that comes with the territory of beating we're calling a spade. The NFC East. I think right now, mathematically, every team is in the playoffs, with the wild card structure. And you mentioned that Commanders win over Philadelphia. That comes with the territory of upsetting a Dallas team, right? Is kind of piecing together that roadmap to postseason football. I think that gets the picture definitely becomes more clear after tomorrow. To your point with that secondary, that revamped secondary that's got an injection of life there with the Dallas game, is going to be licking its chops with that passing attack from Tennessee coming into town, right? Is obviously A.J. Brown famously tweeted that no one can get open. So I think you have to get excited about that opportunity of just stringing together 2 quick two quick wins, right? And I think that's what's kind of unique about those Thursday night matchups that otherwise, kind of like those overseas games, right? Those Thursday night matchups, short week. Some of the players physically haven't necessarily recovered, right? It's a little bit of a short week, and I think anything can happen on that Thursday night matchup. I actually would feel pretty good if I was you, Miles, going into that matchup, and sitting there at 5-6 at this stage in the season. Don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but that's where I would say, okay, let's get excited. But right now, I understand where you're coming from with a little bit of caution and not getting too excited about this. But you gotta be happy about what you saw with that team, and then obviously with Christian Watson, I think it was a little bit of a coming out game nationally for the young kid, and I think it's important to also keep in consideration here. Miles is he's a rookie, right? Like, I mean, he's a first year wide receiver with the weight of the entire Green Bay market and beat writers and fans alike. And for a young man to really come to fruition there with a game like that, 3 touchdowns, it's going to be definitely something to keep your eye on moving forward. And then obviously defense is trying to take that away. How do you feel about the rest of this season? How it's going to shape out for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, he can't be ignored, and kind of to your point, it's really wide open. If you go off and you win this, you sit at 5-6 now. That's anybody at 5-6 certainly has wild card aspirations, and the perfect opportunity to make a statement against Philadelphia right after that. And like I said, when Watson is on the field, that offense is different. It creates spaces. His speed creates spaces that do not exist if he's not on the field. And so it'll be interesting to see. This defense in Tennessee is good. No doubt about that. So we'll see how he plays against that. But it's exciting, and where the caution comes from is you've seen it happen where they go from, hey, maybe they figured this out, like they kind of, they put up some points against Buffalo and played, a little bit more to their potential, and then they just completely fall flat on their face against the Lions. So, yeah. I'm again, kind of cautious optimism. They're an emotionally heady team, so I don't think they have time right now to go through that up and down. They just got to continue on to the next one without really deflating it all.
Yeah.
So I think that could play in their favor. But no doubt right now where they sit, you got to like their chances for a playoff run. And the other thing is, again, it's sort of the lack of the dominance on the other side. If Philly is the biggest threat and now they go down to the Commanders, they seem kind of pedestrian at this point. It's like, all right, maybe they can go down. There's a recipe to beat them now. You got to see what the second half of this season holds, because we've certainly seen collapses happen before, right? The Vikings have started off hot, 8-1, 9-1, and collapsed. The Cardinals have done it. I think the Eagles have done that recently too. So there's teams that have done that. So we've got to really see what the back stretch of the season holds, and it is kind of exciting to see how wide open it is.
Well, I'll tell you what's not wide open, and that's our NFC North division. You mentioned the Buffalo Bills. Watching that game and watching, so the way that Minnesota won that game is,
how frustrating is that?
So it's frustrating, but I'll say this: the moment it happened, I was like, okay, they're for real. And sometimes when you're a for real team, and I'll use the Chicago Bears reference here, think of that 2006 season, right? Like those miracle type games, like the Arizona Monday Night Football.
Oh man, I'll never forget that.
Never forget that, right? Where the defense essentially just found a way to will that team to victory. Devin Hester had a kickoff return, or I should say a punt return for a touchdown, and the Bears end up squeaking by. That's what Minnesota did, right? And so why I make that comparison is because sometimes you're a team of destiny. And I don't want to make you sweat, Miles, but I had the feeling watching that game of, hey, this might be the team of destiny this season. There's always one that just comes up. And I think that the way that game ended, I don't see Minnesota giving up the NFC North this year. Do they make a deep playoff run? I think at this point you got to start preparing for something like that. But as far as having a shot at that seven or six spot, right? Like wild card weekend, like 100%, that's on the table. Mathematically, what is the percentage now? It's like at 16-20% that the Packers make the playoffs with that win over Dallas.
Yeah, something like that. It's in that range. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, what you would need for the Packers to overtake the Vikings is for them to lose 4 more games and then also lose to the Packers. So 5 more games on the rest of their schedule. That's a tall order, man. They're a good team, but hey, Minnesota's going to Minnesota. They've had a lot of talented teams in the past that have come out and just completely pissed down their leg in the playoffs. So
family show.
I'm sorry, completely blew it in crunch time. So I'm confident that they will find a way to screw up. That's what I'm looking forward to as a Packers fan.
Yeah,
whether the Packers can capitalize on that or not, I don't really care. I just want to watch them fall.
I think that we both have the same aspirations for what to watch in the postseason. And that's obviously, we're in the same division. We're rivals, throwing some shade over there. But at the end of the day, no, don't want to see a successful Minnesota playoff run. But speaking of the division, there was a divisional game this past week, week 10, and that was the Detroit Lions visiting the Chicago Bears there on the lakefront. And boy, when you talk about some of the narratives coming out of that game, I mentioned it to you a little bit before we hopped on, and I feel like a broken record. Quarterback position, it's surreal that that's not something that we have to worry about. Getting a lot of attention nationally, right? Justin Fields, on the caliber of player that he is. A lot of critique on Justin on the volume of passing, which I think is in turn a way that Luke Getsy can protect his quarterback. And you might be saying, Miguel, but he's running, but he is a very smart runner. He is a very observant runner and very aware of his surroundings. And you see, he gives himself up, just like Russell Wilson with that baseball slide. He has perfected that baseball slide, and he gives himself up after he knows that there is no more ground to cover, right? And safely take the down at that point. I think at that point, Luke Getsy knows that he's not necessarily going to take the hits that a running back would that's fighting for yardage, right? And so why I say he's protecting him is because, again, that pocket, it's really not a great pocket to just settle down in. And so the critique is obviously wanting to see Justin throw more. And I believe that we would see Justin throw more, even going back to his Ohio State days when he was a pocket passer, right? And less of that dual threat where there was a lot of high volume runs in the playbook. But he doesn't have that Ohio State level of talent around him at every position, right? And I think that that's just something to take into consideration here. He rushed again for over the century mark. I think he's actually in the top 5. Don't quote me on this, in the NFL with rushing. As far as being a rushing leader, won the NFL rushing performance of the week. And he, again, put up over 30 points. So, Miles, broken record, starting to sound like it, right? Justin Fields puts up over 30 points.
Yeah. But you still lost to the Lions.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
That's
Tell me how it feels. Tell me how it feels. You didn't want to lose that game.
I don't want to lose any game that the Bears are playing. that one felt different, obviously, than losing to Dallas and losing to Miami,
Right.
because both of those teams, you see what they're doing this season. Both of them are
Right.
obviously in playoff contention. The Lions were the Lions, right? Like, let's call a spade a spade. They were the Lions coming into that game, and they have the league, the worst rated defense in the league as far as yards that they give up per game, points that they give up per game, and couldn't get it done, right? And so coming away from that game definitely feels different than I think last week in that 15th episode that's in the vault. I was wearing sunglasses because the future was so bright. Yeah, it feels different, right? But at the end of the day, with that loss, they go into that sixth spot overall in draft order. And I've been saying this since the preseason, is this team is not a playoff team, right? Like, if they squeak into the playoffs and they are a first round exit, do you get the excitement of having a playoff team? Yeah. Do you get the experience of Justin Fields in the playoffs? Yes, but it's not a playoff
How do you?
roster. It's talent
Yeah.
depleted. It is a rebuild roster. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it sucks, but at the same time, it's one of those where you have to wrap your head around it and just say, okay, I have to watch and keep an eye on the development of Justin Fields, and everything else
Right.
is, you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? And so you
Right.
can't beat the Lions at home. That should tell you who you are as a football team. And the Bears, and this isn't the first time, Miles, this isn't going to be breaking news on this podcast. I've said this before. The Bears are not a good football team. They're not a good
Yeah.
football team, but they have a quarterback, right? And
Yeah.
that's happened before, where teams discover that they have a quarterback that they can build around. I think that Eberflus and Ryan Poles are both on the same wavelength, that they have that cornerstone of a franchise in this quarterback position. And now it's just time to go out there and put guys in an opportunity to compete. And it starts with the defense, right? The defense and offense, seeing what you have in your roster. And I think we saw that with that Roquan Smith trade to Baltimore. Is, what does that do? It gives you an opportunity to go and see if you have something in a Jack Sanborn type of player. And Jack Sanborn had an impressive performance, probably the only impressive performance on that defensive side of the ball, with some of those other bright spots. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, definitely Big Ten shout out there to Jack Sanborn, Lake Zurich product. And I'll tell you what, man, it's tough, but I would honestly, at this point, Miles, I would want to see some wins so that Justin Fields' confidence um, can develop as well, right? Because you got to imagine, what
Right.
does it feel like to lose, um, and obviously not great. So I would like to see that. I think that at some point the Bears are going to get in that win column. I actually, spoiler here, I believe that this is the week, Miles,
Oh.
that the Bears do
Oh.
just that. And so, not to get too ahead here, but they have the Atlanta Falcons. So Justin Fields' hometown growing up was in Atlanta. Julio Jones was one of his favorite players growing up, and let's not lose sight of the fact that Atlanta passed him up on the draft for Kyle Pitts. So Justin, a bit of a personal connection to this matchup that I think is worth keeping an eye on.
And that's in Atlanta, right? You said?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's in Atlanta, and I think that the Bears defense, this is going to be a game where they um, either show you who they can be with some of the Jack Sanborn plays, and maybe some other players stepping up in the secondary, um, and Justin Fields getting that win. If they lose this game, Miles, I think it's one of those where it's very literally you're mathematically eliminated. So it's like, okay, what do we do at this point? You have to make some decisions as a coaching staff because you're no longer in the running, right, or in the quote unquote hunt. And at that point, you're playing really to just put a complete evaluation of that roster in place for 2023. See what you got. I would say that even the needs and priorities of that roster, Miles, have completely changed. And it's crazy, just what a few weeks do. But if you would have asked me last week, what's the number one priority going to the offseason, it's wide receiver. I would say if you ask me that question today, it's defensive line. It's just that much of a glaring need, and you're seeing it with absolutely no push up front, and historic numbers being put up against the Bears defense as well.
Well, so I didn't get to watch the game against the Lions. I remember we were texting, and I thought the Bears won.
14-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Who's to blame here? Who are we shooting for losing this thing?
So really, I mean, there was failures at every stage of the game, right? Like coaching, I would say has some responsibility there. Definitely the offense. Justin had a pick six there in the fourth quarter. You can critique the play calling in the fourth quarter, just a complete meltdown really in that fourth quarter that ultimately cost the game. But if you ask me from a 30,000 foot view on who is to blame, I would say that defense. Everybody outside of Jack Sanborn was just out of position. No, like I said, no push up front, no pass rush, giving Jared Goff plenty of time to get comfortable, set his feet, find an open receiver. And it's starting to be a feeling that is just as new as having a franchise quarterback in Chicago. And that's for many, many years, for as long as I can remember, being frustrated with the offense and just being, well, at least our defense isn't going to give up points, right? And like the Bears were losing games like 17-13 or 13-10,
Yep.
right? Just the defense just hanging tough. Now, yep. I mean, it's like the first four possessions teams have, they're putting up touchdowns each possession. It's like you're down 21-0, 28-0 in the first quarter. I mean, that's just tough, right? Like that's mentally tough. And like, forget physically tough. Like you're already putting your body through the ringer, Miles. But when you're down or your defense is just giving up touchdowns, I mean, that's just a mountain to climb, right? Like that's just mentally exhausting. I think that a win is going to be some good medicine. I think that they do it this week.
Whew. All right, man. And I actually, I don't disagree with you. It's not a good Falcons team that you're going to play against. Granted, they play better at home. But, I think getting, Justin Fields in his home state on like you said, there's plenty of reasons for him to have a chip on his shoulder. We've talked about it. I think he's taking steps forward every single week. And you've got a bad Falcons team here that I think will give up some touchdowns like what you're saying to your offense. On those first 3-4 possessions, let you get out to an early lead and give your defense a chance to, go against a bad quarterback situation with Mariota. Now, granted, they do have a Kyle Pitts. They've got some talent, but it doesn't seem like, he's able to get him the ball. You got Drake London out there. But, so I actually, I don't know, we're doing score predictions here?
Yeah, let's do it. But I just got a quick one for you, Miles. If you were... and this is going to sound weird, right? But if you were a Falcons fan, right, how would you feel today, having the conversation today? How would you feel about your franchise drafting Kyle Pitts over Justin Fields?
Oh, not good. I mean, Kyle Pitts is a beast, but you definitely need that quarterback. Yeah. You absolutely wish you had Justin Fields right now instead of Kyle Pitts. No doubt.
what I would say is I obviously agree with you, but it's not only Atlanta, it's Carolina, San Francisco. I mean, you go back to that April in 2021 where teams were just passing
Yeah.
on on Justin, and yeah, I mean, drafting a tight end, even a freak of nature like a Kyle Pitts, right, a game changing force to be reckoned with on the field. That's how you end up with Marcus Mariota throwing to Kyle Pitts, right? Like that you made
Yeah.
that decision. Like that's you see how that materializes, especially when you make that decision knowing that Matt Ryan was that Matt Ryan, that version of Matt Ryan in his career, right? In his
Yeah.
career progression. To me, that's an absolute head scratcher. But we're going to see, and I'm sure that they'll link up at the at midfield after the game, a little Kyle Pitts and Justin Fields jersey swap there, with especially being from the same draft class.
Yeah. No doubt, man. No, and I think the Bears take a step forward in this one. I've got them winning 35-21.
Geez, and 5 weeks in a row of Justin putting up over 30 points. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell
Well,
you
I just
what.
don't see this Falcons defense stopping them.
I mean, I don't know if I should start him. You know what I did actually? A little sidebar here, Miles, is I homered and I swapped Patrick Mahomes out of the QB1 in my fantasy team, and I had Justin. Keep in mind that it was that Miami game with Miami's defense, right? With Nick, not Nick Chubb. Who am I thinking about? That Denver edge rusher that they got
Why
in
can't
the
I remember who
draft.
that was? No, Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. That's who it was. Bradley
Yeah.
Chubb. So he put up 42 fantasy points. 42 fantasy points. So I was
Man.
like, okay, they're playing the Detroit Lions defense. What does he do? He goes and he puts up like 33 points for me, and actually outscored Patrick Mahomes fantasy wise. So that was one that I know you had a similar situation with Christian Watson. But sometimes being
Yep.
a homer pays off.
No, it's funny. I actually in that one I benched Rodgers for Trevor Lawrence, who Trevor Lawrence ended up. I think they were about a point apart. It really wouldn't have made a whole lot of difference, but I was mad at Rodgers. Like, put him in. And I did start Christian Watson right there. It was a Sunday morning edition, and
Yeah.
got him in there, and he rewarded me with 3 touchdowns, man.
Don't you love how that happens? Is like you let
Oh,
like
yeah.
rational thoughts kind of keep that placeholder right until the last minute, and then the homer takes over right before kickoff,
Oh,
and you're just
yeah.
like, nope,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
making
Got to let
that
it
yeah,
happen.
I'm editing that roster right now.
It just feels
It
right,
feels
man. It's
right.
an itch you got to scratch.
Yeah, yeah, and it's exciting. So I think I don't know. I'll let you know how I manage my fantasy, my virtual fantasy football team here this week in the lineup. But yeah, Miles, for the Bears Falcons game, I'm going to go 32, or I'm sorry, 33. A couple field goals in there. 28 Bears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think the Falcons will manage a few more scores than I do? I have zero confidence in that offense. I think it's totally inept. So I think this is like a get right game for the Bears
You
defense.
could say the same about the Bears defense being inept, though. It's like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I
that's
don't
fair.
think so. This hot knife through butter is always what's been coming to mind. But let's get some predictions here on the podcast for this
Yeah.
Packers
We got
game
a game
Thursday
tomorrow
night.
night here. Thursday night games. We got to get this thing out. I'm going to battle the technical difficulties until hell freezes over, and then we're going to fight them on the ice.
Let's go.
Getting this thing out, man. I'm gonna go with what I hope happens. Like I mentioned, we've seen them fail me on this before in this season, but I think again they've seen what they can do, and what they should do is run the ball. when you do, good things happen. So run the stinking football, control the game, slow it down when you have to. But Aaron Jones is your best offensive player, even after seeing what Christian Watson can do. Let him be your best offensive player. Stick with that plan, and then Aaron Rodgers can show off in those 15 to 20 throws that he gets. It's plenty to do some damage. So I think they continue with that. I think it's a slow game that both teams are going to run the ball a lot. You expect Derrick Henry to run the ball and for that offense to run through him. So. The Packers have a decent run defense. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's great, but it's certainly better than the run defensives that they've had in the past that are notoriously bad. So I think that in this game, with the lack of passing attack and knowing that you have to stop one person, I think they're able to do it. I'm calling it a close one, kind of a vanilla score here, a 28-21 win for the Packers. Hopefully they keep it up. Everybody stays healthy. I want to see Christian Watson score me another touchdown. What do you think, man? Am I homered too strong here?
No, I'm going to put some cheese spread on that vanilla score. I have the Packers 21-17 in this game. The wild card factor that I'm taking into consideration here is just Thursday night. Right, like bodies are pretty banged up. Guys didn't have the full week to recover, go through their routines, and go out there and again kind of battle it out. And I think that you'll see some of that, especially at this stage in the season. Right, so that fatigue is just going to, and this is for both teams, right? I'm not saying this is the Tennessee Titans or this is the Green Bay Packers. I just think on that short turnaround, right? Like you have to take that in consideration. So I don't have this being a high scoring game. Usually Thursday nights, right? Like they're not high scoring matchups. So I see this one just being flat out a 21-17 win for Green Bay.
Love it. Yeah, and I think it's supposed to be cold. I think it might be snowy. Need to double check. That would be kind of nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but snowy means getting Derrick Henry barreling down at you all game long.
I mean, that's all they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
That's pretty much what you're going to get.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So Miles, the people at home, they want to know, did you wear long sleeves in the snow or did you just go out there with bare arms?
No, look, I'm a Texan that played in northern Wisconsin here. All right. I was out there. That was my tough guy move. Okay. I did have some sleeves on. Now I'll give the linemen a lot of credit. All the linemen went without sleeves. They were the tough guys on the team. But no, in that regard, being a receiver, I was happy to be a sleeved diva.
Okay.
Not that, and let's be real, not that it makes all that big a difference whenever the wind chill is like -5. It all hurts. That's pretty much all you're building.
Yeah.
That's it. It all hurts. It's all miserable. Anybody that says they like playing in that is crazy, and they're playing a psychological game, and they're winning probably that psychological game. But no, I'm going sleeves all day, every day, man. Give me everything I can to help me.
Yeah. Hand warmers too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. No doubt, man.
All right. Well, we are the People's Podcast. We give the people what they want. So you heard it here first. Should have put a money line on that one. Because I think I would have made some money betting on you having some sleeves there. But I think so. We have a couple predictions out here. Both NFC North teams taking these victories over the weekend, or I should say starting tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. Don't miss that on Amazon Prime on the moon.
Let's go. We're gonna watch this game tomorrow night, see how it goes, try to stack a second W in a row. And anybody that is helping us out, we're going to help you out. LifeLeaf Remedies is going to give you a free bottle of immune armor. All you got to do is what?
You got to go ahead and spike that like button, leave us a comment, subscribe, and talk about us at your next tailgate. Bring your hand warmers, bring your long sleeves, your turtlenecks. It's getting cold out there. It's time for some bear weather. Bear down.
All right. Go, Pack. Go.